And just to let you know, I am standing in on behalf of Katina just to host today's meeting and to introduce the various people that are coming to talk to you and to get you to do your sharing, etc., etc. She will be joining us later on, or she's at least hoping to join us later on in the session. It's she's got rather a busy day at Biz today, all related to the projects, and I'm sure when she comes in, she'll explain more about that. Okay, so as always, hello, and it's your notice board and news items. So anybody with anything to share? I might have muted you, in which case you will need to unmute yourself, which is in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. If you hover your mouse over it, you'll get the microphone button, and you can literally click on your microphone and unmute yourself, or you can type news into the chat pane as well. So any news to share from anyone?
Hi, it's Helen here from the Oxfordshire project.
Hi, Helen.
Hi. Has Katina spoken to you about the volunteering webinar?
I had a very brief email which meant very little to me, Helen. So do you want to explain?
Yeah. Yes, this is for everyone really. A question came up at last week's meeting about supporting volunteers. And this sort of prompted Katina and I to remember that way back right at the start of the programme, we'd had a conversation about doing a webinar with the theme around working with, supporting and developing volunteers, the role of volunteers in the kind of work that we're doing and so on. And we thought, that question prompted us to come back to. So I've agreed with Katina that I'm happy to help to lead a session on that as part of the Zoom meeting on the 22nd of July, which will just be at the same time as our regular meeting, and maybe with half an hour, 45 minutes of that to share and learn from one another around working with volunteers. So I think my sort of request for now would be, if anyone's got any specific questions, sort of wicked issues, things that they've been grappling with around volunteering, or conversely things that they have found have been really effective in their work that they would like to share with others on the programme, then if you could either pop something in chat now or contact me outside of the meeting to let me know. I suppose give me a sense of, if I put together a short sort of plan for what the session might look like, what kinds of things it would be useful to cover. So I will email around after this to make sure that everyone's got my contact details, put something out through the Leads forum. But if anyone would like to, let's say, drop anything in chat now, I can pick it up here as well. Okay.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, please do put things into the chat if you'd like questions for Helen, or things that you'd like to share, or examples of best practice you'd like to share with Helen. And can you just remind us of the date again, Helen?
Sure. So it's the 22nd of July, which will be a fortnight today?
Fortnight today.
Yeah, fortnight today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other news? I'm just flicking through, looking at all your screens to see if anyone's going to say anything, is holding their hands up, is typing anything in.
I can see a question there, Sally, about is the session on the 22nd going to be recorded, and I would imagine so, yes, because I think we record all of them, so we can make sure we record this and can put the webinar up on the forum for everyone to be able to access it afterwards.
Yeah, because we realised some of you, it might be right at the end of your terms, the 22nd of July. Okay, and is there another post in the forum?
Hello, it's Morwenna here from Cornwall.
Hi, Morwenna.
Hi. We had a really successful event this week talking about recruitment. In Cornwall, we have an annual event called Blue Light Day, which is for people with learning disabilities. We take over our county agricultural showground, and all the emergency services come, and it's absolutely a wonderful day. We all have a great time. This year, we promoted our mental health in FE courses, and they were very, very successful for carers in particular. All the agencies working with people with learning disabilities have carers groups, and I was surprised and really, really popular.
Fabulous. So you've recruited for now, courses for now, or courses?
No, courses for phase 2. So I've told them that I can't actually promote anything specific until I know what we're allowed to deliver. But they're all very keen in future provision.
And do you think that were they keen for the people that they were caring for, or for themselves, the actual carers, or both?
Mainly the carers, but obviously there is the crossover there. So the first interest was for the carers, but then also for the people with learning disabilities. So I think there's definitely an opportunity there to make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Anybody else been doing any events like that, pre-recruitment events? Okay, anything else to share? Okay, in that case, I am going to invite Catherine to talk to you. She's come along to talk to you about the Ipsos Mori data. So, Catherine, are you still around? Yeah.
Yes, I am still around. Can everyone hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm very sorry that I haven't got a webcam today. I don't have one, unfortunately. But seeing as it's Dress Down Friday, maybe just as well, because it's looking a bit scruffy. But yeah, so Katina's just asked me to give you a bit of an update about the monitoring information that we've had in, and the quality of it, and where we're up to with our analysis so far. So first of all, I just wanted to say a really, really big thank you to everyone for sending in their data each month. I know it's a lot of work for people, and we really appreciate it. And it's really useful for us to have all of that. So thank you very much. In terms of analysis, so far we've done analysis on all the data up until the end of March, and that includes to match it with the ILR data. And what we were looking at is the difference in mental health scores from someone's first score to someone's most recent score, and also how that might vary depending on the courses that people have taken, and also depending on different characteristics of learners, for example, men and compared with women, and also by how severe their mental health problems were when they began. So that's what we've been looking at so far. And at this point, we've only been able to look at the non-anonymous scores because we wanted to focus on the ones that we could match. But we have a final report due at the end of September, and for that we're going to do another round of analysis, which is going to be much more comprehensive. So that will take into account all the data that you're sending us at the moment, plus the earlier data, and both anonymous and non-anonymous. And also we're going to use the data from the surveys, and again match it with the ILR. So that's where we are up to now, and that's what the plan is. So in general, the quality and quantity and the timeliness of data has really improved for most people, and we really appreciate that, and we really appreciate people's willingness to make changes and to correct things. And I've been speaking to quite a few people, and people have got in touch, been proactive to ask questions and check things, and that's really great. And so thanks again for doing that. In terms of quantity, when we did the analysis that went to the end of March, we analysed data we ended up having data for about 3,000 learners. And I know that since in April and May, we've had another 1,600 learners starting, new people that haven't done any courses before. I haven't yet managed to look at all the returns that I've been sent this week, but obviously I'll try and do that as soon as possible. So the reason that it was 3,000. We did. We couldn't use all the data that was supplied when we did the analysis of data up to the end of March. So this is for a number of reasons. First of all, as I said, we were only using the data that was named, so not anonymous, but we will use the anonymous data in the next round. Also, we only used each individual once, so we looked at their first score, their first baseline, and their most recent score. So we didn't break it down to look at the difference for each course, but again, we will consider doing that in the final reporting. And obviously, we could only use data from people that had got more than one score, so they had a baseline and a follow-up. And at the end of March, there were lots and lots of learners who had only, at that point, got a baseline. So there were almost 3,000 more learners who had only got a baseline score. So hopefully, with the later rounds, we'll now be able to see what the follow-up scores for a lot of those people. There were also a few scores that we weren't able to use, and this is partly due to rules that are set by IAPT about how the scales should be used. So, for example, if somebody has missed out more than 2 questions on PHQ-9 or GAD-7, then it means that we aren't able to use that score. If there's only 1 or 2 questions missed out, then we can estimate what the answer to those missed ones could have been, which is based on the average of the ones that were answered. But the rules for using that scale say that if more than 2 have been missed out, then we shouldn't use that result because we're not able to estimate a total. And that applies to WEMWebs as well. If more than 1 question is missed out of WEMWebs, then we're not able to use it. Also, at this stage, we disregarded scores where learners had scored 0 on both PHQ-9 and GAD-7. And the reason that we did this is because we weren't sure whether these scores were genuine, because we know from talking to providers that some learners fill in their scores as 0 across the board, although they describe that they have mental health problems. They fill things in as 0. So we're at the moment we're getting some expert advice from our partners that we're working with on the evaluation about whether and how we should use these scores. But in the analysis that we did in the interim, we left them out sort of to be on the safe side. But even so, despite all of this, we still had quite a large amount of scores that we could use, and we hope that by the end we're going to have a lot more. Katina also asked me to mention some of the problems we had in doing the analysis, but I suppose the good news is that most of these things are things that are quite straightforward to correct or change, and I've emailed everyone individually about this, so you're probably aware of what some of them might be, but there are things like problems with dates being missing or being the wrong date in the future or final before the interim and things like that. Things like course names not matching up between sheets, so we're not quite sure what the details of someone's course are. Problems with unique learner numbers either being missing or being duplicated, and so the different people have got the same number, and also occasionally columns or sheets in the workbook being moved or deleted or changed. So that obviously we had to go and fix all of these things, which was a bit time consuming, but hopefully this round of monitoring information is going to look much better, because I know that people have been working really hard to look at these things and change them and correct them, so we really appreciate that, and I'll be looking at the round that's been sent in recently and try and get back to you all as soon as possible about how that's looking. So the only other thing to say is that there will be actually 2 more data submissions. There'll be the one on August the 5th, which was in the spec, and I think we will have a further one on September the 6th for anyone that will be collecting data over the August period, give them an opportunity to send that in so that we can include it. So I think that's all I was hoping to say. If anyone has any questions, you can email me or you can type them into the chat. I don't know if we have time to discuss any questions now, if people think that there's something that would be relevant to others, but over to you, I guess.
Yeah, we certainly do have time for questions. So any questions for Catherine about the data that you're putting in or things you're not sure about? Or the messages that are coming through from the analysis they've done so far? Again, if you might have to turn your mics on if you want to ask Catherine a message. there's a
okay,
message.
so there's a couple of questions here from Gemma and from Mary. So Gemma asks, will we get the information down to project level? And yes, I think at the end of our reporting, we have said that we will provide projects back with their data, but the only exception to that is if there's only a very small number of learners, because we're not able to supply information if the number of learners is very small, because it might be that individuals are identified. But I think we said that as long as we had data on more than 20 people, we would be able to provide that back to pilots. There's also questions from Mary and from Pat about emerging findings. So because we work for BIS, it's really up to BIS to decide how and when to share the findings with pilots. So that's not something we're at liberty to do. So it's really up to BIS because the findings of the evaluation belong to them. So I can't really answer that question. There's a question from Julia to say, if I haven't heard anything about the data I've submitted, can I assume that there's no issues with it? I have emailed, so I've been through all the data from April and from May and contacted people about that. I haven't yet been able to look at the data that's been sent this week, but if you haven't heard anything so far, then that means that there's not a problem with your April and May data at least. I think Julia is from the Friends Centre, and I think I would have probably emailed Helen about that, so it might be that the email went to her instead, but I'll try to contact everybody if there's any issues.
So you've just said, Catherine, that you're preparing, or you've just had another round of data. So
yeah.
If you find issues with that, will they then get emailed regarding the latest round of data submitted?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and to be honest, I'll probably try and email everyone, because even if it's really good, then it's nice for people to know and get some feedback. So I'll try and email everybody about their data.
Yeah, I think that would be good if people know whether it was, absolutely fine as well, because then they don't think they've missed an email by accident.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, any more questions for Catherine? Manoj has put one in.
There's a question here from Manoj. I'm not completely sure how to answer this question, actually. Manoj is asking, what is the approximate current percentage of good quality data to date? I don't actually have, we are keeping to some extent track of pilots that have, people that have made mistakes, but I don't have figures on that exactly, and it's not like individual items of data or a good quality or not. So maybe Manoj, if you email me and we can speak a bit more about what you meant by that question. I'm happy to try and answer it, but I'm just not sure. And I might need also to go back and look up our records as well.
No, what's happening?
Feel free to turn your mic on, Manoj, and expand on your question if that's going to help.
Yeah, it works. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. Sorry. Yeah, just ask. Generally speaking, he's mentioned 3,000 learners, the number of people who are used in the first turn of analysis. I'm pretty sure across the providers, there's a lot more learners than that in the program. I think it's somewhere in the order of 10 or 12,000. I think roughly. So we've got a ratio of like 1 in 4 of good quality data. I think reading this, I was kind of, when I first read this thing about that, if a learner misses out 1 or 2 questions and the quality isn't sufficient, that's the first time I've heard that, actually. I'm thinking maybe I'd missed something earlier on, but if there's something like that, I think we need to know what the criteria is for good quality data. If it's just like in a kind of, it's part of the specification, just it says something like, if it's something that says, you need to have at least this many fields filled out, you can't have any missing, not things with M rows. Some of the things that you mentioned that were a problem certainly should be given out as a sort of summarization, I think, standardized summarization for all pilots, so that when we go into our next phase operation, we know we're producing good quality data on a monthly basis, and this percentage has got to be higher than 1 in 4, surely. It's got to be like, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10.
So I suppose, first of all, what I'd say is that 3,000 is only people that had a follow-up score by the end of March, and I think even at that point there were already twice as many learners, 6,000, who we had good data for, but we only had their baseline. And I'm, as I say, I hope that by this point a lot more people will have follow-up scores. So it's not that we had data on 10,000 people and a lot of it was poor quality. It was an issue of quantity, really.
Right.
There were actually not that many scores that had questions missing that I could look up what the number was, but I would say it was maybe perhaps 50 or so, something like that. And so it's not been a really huge problem. And also that it's not that data is poor quality, because that is how the learner answered. So, it's not provider's fault if a learner chooses to miss out a question, as long as we know about it. I don't think that would count as poor quality.
Sure. I just found the feedback process was really useful, Catherine. When we spoke last week and you gave us the feedback, it was really useful. We had that we keep that going on a monthly basis, and we're kind of in a way grading our quality to be ever increasing and improving. We're only going to get better and better at this game, aren't we?
Yeah. So, as I say, I do intend to give everyone feedback as soon as possible on this latest round. So hopefully sometime next week.
Okay, thank you. Oh, look, an empty desk.
Okay, so were there any other questions? Or?
Well, one thing that's on my mind, thinking in terms of timing at the moment, is like did our prospectus for next year, is we're all kind of eagerly anticipating the specification. And the specification will tell us which courses are going to be prescribed for next year. The sooner we get any information about that, it's going to be really, really helpful. I think probably Tina's more than acutely aware of that kind of urgency around it. So before our term shuts shop at the college here, and like everyone sort of managers and administrators start going on leave, we should sort of, these are the courses we're now going to have to select and make available, because learners right now are asking to enroll next year already, and our open days have already started. And they want to enroll in these courses that they can see are the well-being courses. They can see them on the kind of prospectus and stuff, but we can't technically be sure that they're going to meet the specification. So we might need some kind of a middle solution for now. We've got a wave of open days next week at our college. I'm sure other colleges have a similar thing. So I'm just wondering about kind of what the position is on that. Given that you can't reveal any findings, this makes it somewhat awkward.
Manoj, I'm hoping that Katina will join us, in which case she'll be able to pose that question to her.
Sure.
She is very, very aware of time things, etc. And I know I think it's literally down to, getting wording signed off and all that sort of thing. So hopefully you're going to all hear ASAP.
Sure, thank you.
But as I say, she definitely is hoping to join us, but I don't know at what time. Okay, we have Ian Knowles joining us, but I don't know if Ian's actually in the room from the Skills Funding Agency. Is Ian with us? Desperately looking down the list. I don't know if he's just joining on. I think he's just joining on the phone. And of course, I don't know everybody's names of people on the phone. I'm just unmuting all the phones. If you're with us, Ian, can you let us know?
Hello, yeah, I've just dialed in.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Have I come at the right moment, or?
Absolute perfect timing, Ian. Perfect timing. We're just ready for you to tell us about the ILR and answer questions if there are questions.
Yeah. I'm not Katina just said give an update on the ILR. I'm not sure if that's just figures-wise or, you know, including the good, the bad and the ugly type stuff for the past 3 months. Does that sound about right?
I had no more details than Ian's talking about the ILR.
Talk about the ILR means, history of it, its evolution through time, but I think that would bore everyone to tears.
No, I don't think we want that.
I think it's just numbers. I should imagine people are more interested in. And if there's any, I know Katina said there were some queries from the R10 figures that I think she shared with some colleagues. So I might not be able to answer all of them if they're quite detailed or specific, but I can try and answer some of them because some queries, if it's like the basic, where do I put the code, what do I do type stuff, yeah, that's me. If it's like I'm doing this and it's not going through the database or through the hub or whatever, I'm not even sure how they submit ILR data. We have a whole team that deals with that. I might have to take them away or say to people they'll have to speak to a service desk. So if there is any queries, I can try and answer some, but I just want to sort of manage expectations. I can't answer all of them probably.
That's fine, thank you, Ian.
So if we're just looking at the extension, so that's from April to date, then there's been 3 ILR returns since. So there's R08, 9 and 10. And every month I get I request a spreadsheet from our analysis colleagues to say, tell me how many learners are recorded using the LDM code 340 against this set of providers. And then obviously I share that with Katina and other BIS colleagues, and I think obviously Ipsos get access to that as well. And then we just do a bit of number crunching to see how the numbers stack up. So if we look at R08, we had at that point, just getting my spreadsheet open, sorry. Up to R8 we had, so if I go back to R07, so if I just look at the total number of learners at R07, so that's just before the extension, was just under 9,500 learners. When we came to the total for R08, we had just under 13,500 learners recorded. So this is enrollments. These are not like achievements or completers, because obviously that number would drop down quite a bit. But we're just looking at enrollments. So we had quite a big jump there. So we had about 4,000 learners. But then when we start digging in the numbers, we see, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, the sort of targets for most providers in this period is 20 learners a month. Is that right?
Is that right, folks? Yeah, I can see some nods.
Yeah, okay. So going on them, and those figures that Katina shared, so for R08 we had 41 of the providers, and this is out of a total of 56, I believe. So 41 recorded 20 or more learners, so that's a healthy number. With 17 that recorded 20 or less, sorry, less than 20, so 19 and under. And then we've got 10 providers who are in the naughty corner, unfortunately, where 7 of them recorded 0 learners, and then we had 3 who recorded minus figures. I don't know how that is possible, but they did. So you know, we try and focus on the 41, but unfortunately, you know, we all remember the red traffic lights rather than the green ones. We are looking at the 17 and then especially at the 10. And obviously Katina goes out in those conversations and people either nod and sort of say, oh yeah, we're aware of that, or people just look perplexed and go, I don't understand how that happened. And that's where conversations with me, Katina and the provider have happened or should happen to try and figure out what's gone wrong. So then we look at R09, we've gone up to just under 16,000 learners, and the numbers are roughly the same. So we're 35 delivering more than 20 learners, 11 less than 20, and exactly the same. 7 recorded 0 learners and 3 recorded minus. We know who they are. I can't say, obviously. I don't want to
No,
name and shame.
please don't name and shame on
We know who
this.
they are. So it's you know, it's a slight concern when you've recorded no learners for 2 months. If you've had no one come through the door, that's a reason. But if you've recorded no learners and you've had people through the door, then you have to do monthly returns. It's part of the extension. I know it causes some providers a problem, but we made it abundantly clear up front that you have to do monthly returns, because the research data that's being collected over and above the ILR, you can't match the MIR data to diddly squat, can you? So it causes problems there, which I'm sure Katina's had conversations with the relevant people. And then we go to RO10, so up to just over 17,500 learners. And then the numbers of providers reporting more than 20 drops to just 27. And then we've got 31 providers who've recorded less than 20. I suppose the contributing factor is we're in sort of July, August, or sort of June, July, sorry, coming up to August, so that might be a contributing factor. But seeing as a lot of these courses should be roll on, roll off and quite short, that's quite a big swing in kind of the wrong way where we were thinking the learner numbers would go. And then we've still got our 10, but the numbers gone up by 1 and gone down by 1. So we've got 6 recording 0 and 4 recording minus learners again. So that's where we are for the period up to return 10. So we've gone from just over 9,500 at return 7. So that was just before the extension. So we've gone up to, and then we've gone up to 17,500. So that's a quite big chunk of learners. It's a healthy number of learners, but as I think most people are aware, it's not just about the learners, the numbers, is it? It's about matching the data. And then where we're having issues with the ILR data that doesn't support, matching that data across, that's carried on by the Ipsos. I think that's you, isn't it, Catherine, and your colleague. So that's where we are. I mean, return 11 closed this week, so I'll have access to that at some point next week when all the data is cleansed and verified, and I'll be providing that to Katina, and then no doubt there'll be conversations happening from that. So that's where we are. Not highly exciting, I appreciate, but those are the facts and figures. So I don't know how you want to take it on from there.
Thank you, Ian. Well, you've highlighted to everybody the fact that it's key to filling things out as accurately as possible, I suppose. We've had a couple of questions come through on the same thing, but they just clarification. You're 16,000, or we're now up to 17,500. Is that enrolments or individual learners?
It's enrolments.
So it's enrolment.
It's participation, basically. So if a learner enrolls on more than one course, they'll be counted once. So it's participation. We have access to enrolments and completion and achievements, but it's not worth looking to that until the end.
Thank you.
So not least if there is a return period normally, like R14, which we won't go into here, but there's normally a period where there's a big mop up and massive cleanse at the end by us and by providers as well. But no, this is enrolments, but it's participation. So if a learner does one or more than one course, they're only counted once. Okay, so do you know how many individual learners have been involved in the programme rather than enrolments? I do, but I haven't got that number to hand, so I don't work off them numbers, but I can share that with Katina and you, and then it's up to Katina whether it's worth sharing more widely. Okay, I think the group would be interested to know. So if that is feasible to find out and share, I think there's been a request. I mean, I'm not sure if people know these numbers already. This is not going out into public domain until obviously at the end. So I'd have to check things out here how we share, because I don't think we've got a problem sharing numbers with individual providers, but I wouldn't want to be sharing numbers as a totality because the numbers change, unfortunately. So if we can share it, we will. But what I'm saying now here is only for these people, only for the people on this phone call. Please don't share these numbers more widely because they do change, unfortunately, because we find issues sometimes with our systems. But I've double and triple checked this, and obviously sometimes with provider systems where we can, the number might obviously jump up the next month, but it will take account of errors that are corrected in the previous month. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, Ian, and yeah, everybody in this room knows it's to stay in this room. So yeah. I mean, if you want the exact number, what I've got here is 17,645 up to R10 of learners that have participated and been recorded as doing a course under that code that we ask providers to record it against. There's some quite healthy numbers from providers, and there's some not so healthy numbers from providers, but there's various reasons for that, we understand. So, but yeah, that's the number where we are at the moment. But as I say, I think we're less concerned about numbers per se, apart from ones that do less than 20 or 0 or minus numbers, obviously. It's more about just making sure that the foundation for all this research, which is the ILR, can then be matched, or the Ipsos MIR data can be matched to the ILR. Because obviously missing one part, that means that the other part is just it's useless, really, isn't it? So if we can't get the ILR right, it just causes more problems, as well as providers obviously having to submit the MIR data on top of that, which I know is challenging, but that's the game that we're in at the moment, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ian. Are there any more questions for Ian from the group? Do you either want to turn your mic on and talk to us, or do you want to post them in the chat pane?
Hi, Ian, it's Chris from Blackburn. I just wondered whether you could give us any update on the letter for phase 2 from the SFA. It's getting tighter and tighter. I've now got a colleague who's due to finish on the 31st of July, who's in my substantive post, who's ringing me on a daily basis, just wanting to know whether she's going to have a job. I thought we would have heard today, to be honest. I don't know if we have heard and it's not trickled down to me yet.
No. You probably aren't asked a question that every single other person there probably wanted to ask. I can't say anything today, I'm afraid. All I can say is that you'll find out next week. We're in conversation with Biz colleagues at the moment, so you will find out early next week. That's all I can say, I'm afraid.
Okay, thanks. And I didn't mean to put you on.
Sorry, I wish I could give you better news. And please don't take as what I say as bad news or good news. It's at this moment is totally neutral. We are in conversation with Biz still. So if we will be sending you a letter next week. What it says, obviously you would have to digest and then make decisions based on that. And I really can't say anything more, unfortunately. What hasn't helped is the referendum, the PERDA period we had within it, and then something had to go to the minister about part of it, not all of it, and he wasn't taking anything in his box unless it was super urgent. And unfortunately, this wasn't super urgent. It was super urgent, but it didn't have the double super, unfortunately. And so it's only sort of the past week or two that we've been having conversations with Biz and Treasury officials to a certain degree as well. So we will find out early next week. When we send the letter, by the way, we were only allowed to send the letter to the person that we have on our system that we have the contract agreement with. So normally it's the principal or the CEO. And I know if I'm assuming I'm talking to mostly the project leads here, you may not get, you may not see that like the minute or within even the half an hour or hour that it gets sent code. So what I will do is once the letters go out, I'll give Katina the nod, and then she will sort of somehow, I'm sure she's got like a group email or something to say to you, look, the letter's gone out. If you don't get it within like the next, however short time you need, go and badger your person who, because I know especially in a local authority or even a big college, it will go to the principal CEO and it just may sit in their inbox for a while.
Thank you. That's really useful advice, because that came up as a question from Brenda in the chat. Where will the information be posted and when it comes through, so we know where to look? So
yeah, we've got this. I can understand why we've got this sort of. It's not even a rule. It's a directive that we can only send emails or letters to do with contracts to the contract holder. So and I know that sometimes it gets lost or stuck in their inbox because obviously they've got 1,001 other things to deal with. So once the letters have gone out, I'll give Katina a quick ring or drop an email saying, look, can you just make pilot leads aware, and then you can just go start harassing for all the right reasons, obviously, and so you can see what's in the letter, and then make decisions based on that.
Thank you. And likewise, pilot leads, you might want to go and pre-warn or make sure people are aware that you are expecting a really important notification to come through via them or a letter to come to them.
Especially if you know that your CEO or principal or whoever is may be out of the office or on leave early next week, because then that'll cause, unfortunately, more hold-ups, won't it? Yeah, so I can only apologise, but I know that it's probably quite empty, and the realisation, the understanding that it's absolutely stupidly late in the year is just, it's not lost on us, believe us, but there have been reasons for it. Some legitimate, some are just someone's head against the wall, really, but that's unfortunately where we are here. But you will get something early next week out to you. We're hoping Monday, but might be Tuesday. Just depends on logistical issues here as well as at Biz, but ideally Monday, if not Tuesday, no later than Tuesday.
Okay, so you've heard it here, Monday or Tuesday. Richard's asked, will they need to formally respond to the letter at all, and what is the deadline for that? So did they have, if when they get the letter, I assume that they will have to say, yes, we would like to go ahead, or, if that's the case. So there would be some sort of something they'd have to respond to.
I can't answer that.
You can't answer. Well, in my assumptions, and I don't know anything, but in my assumptions, I'm sure you can't just go ahead without first signing something and saying, yes, you do want to be a party to it, or no, I don't want to continue, or something.
I've been working on the letter most of the week. It's just sucked up my whole week, which is not a problem because these things happen, but we need to get it right, but it's still not been signed off, I'm afraid, so I can't answer that question.
That's fine. That's fine. I think you can take it as that you probably would have to respond in some way, though, but that's me speaking from a non-knowledgeable person. It's the usual case on things like that.
Yeah.
And as for deadline, I have no idea whether there'll be a deadline, but usually there is some sort of, we'd like to know by such and such. But then I'm thinking from a tender perspective, maybe not from a contract perspective. So again, I don't know, but I don't know when the next phase begins anyway. So they'd need to know before the next phase actually began, wouldn't they? Thank you, Ian. Any other questions for Ian before?
An answer. It's really horrible because I know what's going on, unfortunately, for you guys, and I really, as much as I'd want to say yes or no or maybe, it's best that I just
Don't. Yeah, no, they understand. Well, they desperately want to know, but they're all nodding. They do understand, so it's okay, Ian. They can wait. They've just got one more weekend of worry to get through.
Yeah, it's just, I've been working in this as a civil servant now for about 7-8 years. I did previously work for a training provider, so I have been on the other side of the fence. And I just get so frustrated at times with how long it takes to get something done that seems on paper quite simple. So I do appreciate the frustration, but I'm doing everything in my power in the tiny little cog I am in the massive machine that is the government, especially on this side of the fence, to get this out. And I'll promise you that it'll be out by the latest Tuesday next week.
That's absolutely fine. There's comments coming through on the message board saying they definitely don't blame you. So they're not don't take any of it personally. They're just desperate. They're just desperate.
Yeah, if I do get blamed, I'm changing my name to something and going to a country where I can't be extradited.
Okay, well, thank you very much for responding to their questions as best we could anyway, and for the IR.
If you've got any burning ILR issue or queries that are just you just think, just can't get my head around this one, just send them on to Katina and then she'll send them straight on to me. I mean, if they're I'll be honest with you, if they're noddy questions, and by that I mean they're like, oh God, I will just say, go and read the ILR spec or this. But if it's something that's like a genuine problem, as in we've caused it, or you just can't get your head around it, or it's just like you don't think, well, what Katina's told you maybe over the past 2 or 3 months, where you think, well, I did return data, but you're saying that I didn't. Then we need to resolve this, and we need to resolve this to your benefit. Because whether you return 0 learners or 20 or 1,000 doesn't personally impact on me, but obviously impacts on the research project. So, just shout. But I will tactfully say, unfortunately, that's quite an easy one. Go and look at this document. But if it's something we need a phone call, I've spoken to people. I've got no problem doing that. We need to make sure that we sort of iron these issues out for the remainder of the extension, especially. And I have to stop there because if I say anything more, that I might give it away that still hasn't been signed off. So
no, that's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm going to depart now. Is that okay, Catherine?
That's fine.
All right then. Cheers and thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the very last bits of the session. There was a comment in there, is it bad news because everybody's looking down? Everybody's looking down because there's no news yet for the person that posted that. We're still in a waiting game till next Monday or Tuesday. And believe me, I know nothing either, so I can't give the game away because I have no idea. We're down to the last little bit about any other business. But there's a few things I just want to raise. Next week, Thursday and Friday, is the Breaking the Rules courses. If you haven't sent somebody on the previous versions, or you want to send somebody, and it could even be the same person again, because although we will be using the thinking environment days, we have adapted the programme quite a bit, so it would be a new learning experience. If you want to come again, please do. If you've not sent anybody from your projects, then you will need to have somebody there for the round 2. So you might be booking on very last minute when you've had your letters on Monday or Tuesday. Gemma's just put, we only have Thursday. What do you mean you only have Thursday? Down for training is Thursday or Friday, it's just one of the days. So Thursday is, I didn't mean Thursday and Friday. You just come to one of the days. It's a repeated day. So Thursday's up north and Friday's down south. So same event but in 2 different places. Patricia said you were told last week that the funding had been agreed. I have no idea if you've been told that or not. I'm sorry, I literally am just facilitating the meeting, so I don't know whether you've been told that or not. But I do know that your letters have, even if the funding has been agreed, which I don't know, individual provider letters have not gone out yet. And won't be going out, according to Ian from the Skills Funding Agency, until Monday or Tuesday of next week. Is there a Zoom meeting on next Friday? I don't know that they are every Friday. Are they, the Zoom meetings, or are they? Yes, they are, aren't they? I have no idea. Katina will send you out a post to tell you that, or maybe you can come and join everybody in London. Maybe we do one from the London venue. Katina will be at the London venue with us, so I'm starting to suspect no, but maybe she'll go out and do the Zoom meeting. Okay, and the final bit that I've got for you is the network meeting that you've got in September. Is it the 20th? Caroline, can you post the link for booking onto it in the chat room, and can you just post the dates again? I think it's the 26th and 27th of September. 27th and the 28th of September is the network meeting, and you can all blame me for this one. It's 2 days, but it's starting midday on the 27th and finishing midday on the 28th. The official parts of those days are from midday to midday. However, you can start and finish with lunch, etc. And the 27th will carry on and go right into the evening, so that it's a full pack programme. The reason why it's going from midday to midday, and you're thinking, why don't you just squash it all into one day, is to allow people to travel. The dates are the same. It's just the timings may have changed. And it's to allow people to travel so that you can travel up on the day rather than having to travel the night before. So if you're close enough to get up on that morning, then that's fine. If you would like to come the day before, or if you've got a long way to travel, that's absolutely fine. The project team will be there for the whole of the 27th and the whole of the 28th. So you can stay on after the second day, or you can come to the morning, which means that you can get to talk individually to Katina or anybody else, the data team, etc., and get things sorted. So you can have one-to-one meetings, or you can meet each other and discuss things. But that's why it's from midday to midday. There's lots of thingies, and I can't keep up with all the comments. Hang on.
Sally, do you want me to just jump in and clarify?
Yeah, clarify for us.
So yeah, it was originally going to be just Tuesday the 27th. Katina's asked to make it 2 days now, so it's going to be 12 noon on the 27th. So that gives people a bit more of a chance to get there that day. And it's till 12 noon on the 28th. So that does mean an overnight stay for most of you that are travelling up from any distance, really, because we are looking at working into the evening. So there are rooms available on the Tuesday night. For those that are travelling from even further afield, there are rooms available on the Monday night as well. So people might want to come Monday night and then be there so that they're there for 12 o'clock on the Tuesday. And I'm expecting very few people to need this, but if anyone does need it, that when they finish at 12 noon on Wednesday, that they can't get home, I have got a few bedrooms for the Wednesday night as well.
We've got a question, is it in London? No, it's not in London, is it, Caroline?
No, it's here at Northern College up in Yorkshire.
Which is why you need accommodation, folks.
Yeah, we do have rooms on site, and we do have local hotels as well. So we are going to be helping sort all that out. Is that Pat that says don't know about funding? The funding, we do know the funding. We know the funding's been agreed. That was confirmed last week. It's just a case of knowing how much. And I know Katina said, didn't she, last week, and Liz said last week, that we know it's in the rough ballpark of 100,000. So the funding shouldn't be an issue for anybody.
It is difficult to book on, yes, if you don't know whether you personally are getting the funding, but you will know by Monday or Tuesday, so you can book on to the Breaking the Rules and to the Northern College meetings once you know for definite what you're doing. If you need accommodation, I think when they fill out the Eventbrite form, as well as filling that out, they need to notify you, don't they, Caroline?
Yeah, they need to email me if you want accommodation. So obviously have a look at your travel things with your train times, or some people are getting planes and things. So have a look and just email me. I've started a list already. So I'm just going to post in chat my email address. So those that haven't got it, but it is on my email address is also on the link that on Eventbrite when you book onto the event. It does say if you want to book accommodation, email Caroline. I'm just posting it now for you.
You can get the Eventbrite link. Is on the front of the MHFE. It's not on the front of the MHFE page. Oh, okay.
It's not, and there is also a password as well. It's on the forum on MHFE website, as in a post in the forums that we've got in there, the Leeds forum, I think. But it's not on the sort of front page where you've got the boots we book on events. It's not on that part.
Okay.
Yeah, Brenda, you're just asking, you weren't aware that attendance for Breaking the Rules was mandatory. Sally, do you know about that?
I believe it is. That somebody from your project, either last time through, who's still in your project team, or this time through, must attend. It's in the spec. Thank you, Gemma.
Yeah, and the September meeting as well, that is also mandatory. It's when we're going to hopefully be going through the all the data, you know, how to put people through the data with the new organisation that we may or may not have, the new app that Katina's hoping that we're going to have. So if anybody's in chat has put about needing rooms, please email me, because I'll lose this chat thread. So just email me if you want to know about rooms.
Okay, any other questions? Any other business? No, nothing's coming through, in which case it looks like Katina wasn't quite able to join us. I believe she's interviewing or something today, so apologies from her. But do send your emails to her if you have a burning question, or stick it in the chat pane if we haven't answered it, and we will pass it on to her. Or use your forum. Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you very much for joining today, and I hope it's been useful.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Linda.